Most of us believe the worst things happen somewhere far away, to strangers, in places we'll never go. But the truth is, some of the most terrifying things happen in the most ordinary places. Your neighborhood, your home, even your own walls. Tonight, I'm sharing 5 stories from people who discovered something deeply disturbing about the world around them. Story 1. The Neighbor. The man at the end of the street never left his house. Not once in 6 months. But every night, the lights turned on, and someone moved behind the curtains. When I moved into the neighborhood, people mentioned it casually, the way you mention a pothole or a loud dog, just something you learn to live with. The house at the end of the street, third one past the stop sign, beige siding, brown shutters, blinds always drawn. The mailbox stayed empty, no packages on the porch, no car in the driveway. But the lawn? Trimmed. Not often, but enough. I figured the guy worked from home, kept to himself. Some people are like that. Then weeks turned into months, and I never once saw him step outside. Not for groceries, not for trash day, not even to check the mail that never came. But every night around 9 p.m., the lights inside the house turned on, a warm yellow glow through the blinds. And if you watched long enough, and I know this because I did, you could see shadows, slow ones, moving from room to room, like someone pacing. Eventually, curiosity got the better of me. One evening, I walked up to the house. The porch creaked under my weight. The wood was soft, damp. I knocked 3 times, firm. Nothing. I waited. 15 seconds, 30. I turned to leave, and that's when I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, moving toward the door from somewhere deep inside the house. The handle started to turn, then stopped. And whoever was on the other side of that door just stood there. I could hear them breathing, shallow, controlled, the kind of breathing someone does when they're trying not to make a sound but can't help it. I left, walked home, locked my door, told myself it was nothing. A few weeks later, police showed up. 3 cruisers, yellow tape. The real owner of the house had been dead for months. Heart attack. Found by a cousin who hadn't heard from him. The man everyone thought lived there, the one behind the curtains, the one who paced at night, the one who stood on the other side of the door while I listened to him breathe, was a stranger, living in a dead man's house, using his lights, walking his rooms, pretending to be him. They still don't know how long he'd been there. Because when the neighbors really thought about it, really sat with it, they realized something. The real homeowner hadn't been seen in over a year, and not one of us questioned it. We just watched the lights turn on every night and told ourselves someone was home. Story 2. The Guest. There's a man in every photo from the last 4 years. No one invited him, no one remembers him, and no one noticed until now. Last year, my girlfriend threw a birthday party at our apartment. Nothing big, 12 people, maybe 13, music from a Bluetooth speaker on the counter, cheap beer, someone burning a candle that smelled like vanilla, everyone laughing too loud the way people do when they're comfortable. It felt safe. It felt normal. Until the next morning. We were scrolling through photos people had posted the night before, just smiling, tagging friends, and that's when I saw him. A tall man, late 30s, dark jacket, standing near the kitchen in one photo, not talking to anyone, not holding a drink, just standing there. I figured he came with someone, so I texted around. Nobody recognized him. Nobody. I scrolled to the next photo. He'd moved. Now he was in the hallway. Same posture, same jacket, hands at his sides. Next photo, he's directly behind me. I'm opening a gift, I'm smiling, and over my left shoulder, maybe 3 feet away, there he is, looking right at the camera. I could feel my stomach drop. Not because he was there, because I didn't remember him being there at all. Not his face, not his voice, not the sound of a door opening or closing. We joked about it at first. We called him the guest. Nervous laughter, you know the kind. Then my girlfriend went quiet. She opened her laptop, pulled up a folder, photos from her birthday the year before. There he was. Same man, standing near the window. Same jacket. She clicked back another year. He was by the bookshelf. Another year, the hallway again. 4 years of photos, 4 years of birthdays. Same man, same expression. Always in the background. Always watching. That night, we checked every lock in the apartment. Front door, back door, windows. And that's when my girlfriend said something that made my chest go tight. She said, "We never changed the locks when we moved in. The previous tenant still had a key." He hadn't been sneaking into parties. He'd been letting himself in. And the only reason we found out is because someone took a photo. I keep thinking about the nights no one did. Story 3. The Hitchhiker. I let a stranger sleep on my couch after a parade. By morning, he was gone. By the end of the week, I found out who he really was and why he chose my house. 2 years ago, St. Patrick's Day, downtown was a mess in the best way. Green everywhere, beer on the pavement, music bleeding out of every bar on the block. Thousands of people shoulder to shoulder, all of them too loud, all of them happy. Around midnight, the group started splitting up. One friend called an Uber, another wandered toward some dive bar on 5th, and I started walking home. 8 blocks, cool air, quiet streets once you got past the noise. That's when I saw him. A guy about my age, sitting on the curb with his head in his hands. Not aggressive, not wasted, just done. Like something had drained out of him. He asked if I knew where the bus station was. I told him it closed at 11. He exhaled, long and slow. Said he had nowhere to go. And I did something I think about every single day. I told him he could crash on my couch. He looked at me like I'd pulled him out of water, thanked me 3 times on the walk home, took his shoes off at the door without being asked, folded the blanket I gave him across his lap, and was asleep within minutes. I locked the front door, went to bed, figured I'd drive him to the bus station in the morning. 6:23 a.m., loud knocking. Not the couch guy, police. 2 officers, one holding a photo. They asked if I'd seen a man matching the description. White male, mid-20s, brown jacket. The jacket was hanging on my couch. I told them he was in the living room, but when we walked in, the couch was empty. Blanket still folded, shoes gone. The front door was still locked, but the back door was wide open, cold air pouring in. He was gone. The police never found him, but weeks later, I learned something that changed everything. The house I was renting used to belong to his family, years ago. And the victim from the parade, the man who was stabbed that night, was the person who had bought it from them. He didn't pick my couch at random. He came home, and I held the door open for him. Story 4. The Passenger. She was standing on the side of the highway at midnight, hazard lights blinking, alone. I almost kept driving. I wish I had. Because when I pulled over, she leaned into my window and said my full name. I was coming home from a late shift, 12:30. Highway was empty. Just my headlights and the hum of the road. I saw the car first, silver sedan, pulled onto the shoulder, hazards flashing orange in the dark. Then I saw her, standing beside the driver's door, arms crossed, still. I drove past, got about a mile down the road before the guilt hit. It was cold, late, middle of nowhere. So I turned around. When I pulled up beside her, she walked to my passenger window and leaned down. Her face was calm, too calm, like she'd been waiting. Before I could ask what happened, she said my name, first and last. I'd never seen this woman in my life. I asked her how she knew it. She just said she needed a ride. Everything in me said drive away, but my hands didn't move. I couldn't think of a reason that sounded rational. So I unlocked the door. She got in, didn't buckle, didn't look at the road, just looked at me for miles. No music, no talking, just the sound of tires on asphalt and the weight of her eyes on the side of my face. Then she spoke, quietly, almost to herself. "You finally noticed me." That's when she told me the truth. She'd been following me for weeks, learning my schedule, my route, my stops. Not because she wanted to hurt me, because she believed I was the last person seen with her sister, a woman I had dated briefly, months earlier, before she disappeared. The police hadn't found anything, no evidence, no leads. But this woman, sitting in my passenger seat at 1 a.m. on a dark highway, didn't need evidence. She needed to see my face. Because she said the reason I looked so calm right now was the same reason the police couldn't find anything. She asked me to pull over, got out, walked into the dark without another word. I never saw her again. But I still drive that highway every night. And sometimes, just past the mile marker where I found her, I slow down. Not because I'm looking for her, because I'm checking to make sure she's not there. Story 5. The crawl space. I moved into the apartment because it was cheap. 10 days later, I started waking up at exactly 3:27 a.m. 3 knocks on the wall beside my bed. I thought it was the neighbor. There was no neighbor. The rent was $600 a month, studio, 3rd floor, no laundry, no dishwasher, no parking. But the walls were thick, or so I thought, and the street was quiet, and I was broke enough not to ask questions. The first week was fine, slept like the dead. Then it started. 3:27 a.m., 3 knocks, soft, measured, like knuckles on drywall right beside my headboard. I knocked back the first time, figured it was the unit next door. Thin walls, someone rolling over in bed, hitting the frame. No response. The next night, 3:27, 3 knocks. Same spot, same rhythm. I pressed my ear to the wall, held my breath. Nothing. Then, faint, almost imagined, breathing. Not from the other apartment, from inside the wall. I told the landlord. He said the unit next door had been vacant for months. No tenant, no lease. He'd check it out. He didn't. So I stopped sleeping through the night, started lying awake at 3:15, staring at the wall, waiting for it. And every single night, 3:27, 3 knocks, like clockwork. 3 weeks in, I called the police myself. They forced the door to the apartment next door. Empty. No furniture, no sign of anyone living there, except a sleeping bag on the floor, rolled up neat, still warm. And a panel in the wall I'd never noticed. Behind it, a crawl space. Narrow, maybe 2 feet wide, running between the units like a vein. Inside, they found food wrappers, water bottles, blankets bunched against the wall, and photographs. Dozens of them. Me sleeping. Me eating cereal at the counter. Me watching TV on the couch at night with the lights off, my face lit blue by the screen. All taken from inside the walls, through gaps I never knew were there. But the photo that made the officer stop talking, the one he held up and then slowly put back down, was taken from beside my bed. I was asleep, lying on my back, mouth slightly open, and at the edge of the frame, barely visible, a hand. resting on the mattress, inches from mine. They never found who it was. But I keep thinking about something. The knocking started on day 10, which means for the first 9 nights, they were quiet. The most disturbing part about stories like these is how ordinary they begin. A neighbor, a party, a stranger asking for help. Moments that seem harmless until they aren't. Because sometimes the scariest things in the world aren't monsters. They're just people hiding in places we never think to look.